Morning, everyone. Well, it's morning for me anyway. Today we're going to be reacting to some Johnny Cash. We're going to be reacting to Ragged Old Flag. I'm assuming he's referring to Star Spangled Banner. So we're going to find out what this song is all about. I did see when I was doing some research on it that there is some Super Bowl ones that did like some tributes for the Super Bowl using this Ragged Old Flag. I'm just going to react to like the original recorded version without any video surrounding it. So I'm really excited for that. Hopefully it's going to be an absolutely great song. By the amount that's been requested, I'm assuming it's absolutely fantastic. Before we get to it, I'm going to bore you with some small details. If this video doesn't get monetized, there will not be a button here for any super thanks or any donations. However, if you go to some of my other videos, that there will be at the end of the video here, or if you look on my channel specifically, if you go to 5 reasons you shouldn't mess with the United States, there will be a button on that video where you can, if you so wish, give to the channel, because we're not really earning any revenue from doing our videos, purely on the basis that YouTube blocks most or all copyright content, not all, but let's say most copyrighted content, even though we're using it in the we're using it with fair use, which is actually perfectly legal. You can trust me, I promise. I am a law graduate, so fair use is perfectly legal. At the moment, that's what we're doing, but YouTube isn't recognizing that. Everything's in review, so nothing's making money. That's absolutely fine. So if you do want to donate and support the channel and help us keep going, there's going to be a button. It might not be down here. If it's not down here, then it'll be on my other video, 5 reasons not to mess with the United States, and there will be a button there on the video where you can give money to the channel, and 20% of those proceeds will go to an American charity at the end of May. And at the end of May, we'll carry on doing it at the end of each month, purely because April's basically, April is over now, it's now May. So yes, I haven't decided which charity that will be. We'll decide closer towards the end of May with your guys' input, and that'll be absolutely amazing. I won't bore you with anything else. Just subscribe to the channel, like this video, and give a comment with any suggestions down below if there's something else you want to see. So let's get to the video.
I walked through a county courthouse square. On a park bench, an old man was sitting there. I said, "Your old courthouse is kind of run down." He said, "No, it'll do for our little town." I said, "Your old flagpole is leaned a little bit, and that's a ragged old flag you got hanging on it." He said, "Have a seat," and I sat down. "Is this the first time you've been to our little town?" I said, "I think it is." He said, "I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag."
Yes, goosebumps.
You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware. And it got powder burned the night that Francis Scott Key sat watching it write and say, "Can you see?"
1812.
And it got a bad rip in New Orleans with Pakenham and Jackson tugging at its seams. And it almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on though. She got cut with a sword at Chancellorsville, and she got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard, and Bragg, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag.
It did.
On Flanders Field in World War I, she got a big hole from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low a time or two.
She did.
She was in Korea, Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. She waved from our ships upon the briny foam, and now they've about quit waving back here at home. In her own good land here, she's been abused.
Yeah.
She's been burned, dishonored, denied, and refused. And the government for which she stands is scandalized throughout the land.
I couldn't agree
And
more.
she's getting threadbare and she's wearing thin, but she's in good shape for the shape she's in.
Yes, sir.
'Cause she's been through the fire before.
Yes, she has.
And I believe she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning, we take her down every night, we don't let her touch the ground, and we fold her up right. On second thought, I do like to brag, 'cause I'm mighty proud of that ragged old flag.
Yes, sir, me too. Wow, guys, that was absolutely amazing. That's basically as patriotic as anything can ever be. Because, I mean, and good old country music, I know Johnny Cash is very famous for it, but he told an incredible story. I like the fact that he wasn't actually singing. He was genuinely sitting there and telling you a story about this ragged old flag, which of course is the Star Spangled Banner, the universal symbol of freedom, as I like it to be known, because it really is. The story itself is lovely, and so he details basically all of the battles that the flag has been carried through, and he says some really, really, obviously incredible things about all the way from, the Alamo, Civil War. He also talks about, of course, the Revolutionary War in 1812, when Francis Scott Key writing Say Can't You See? That was awesome. And then, of course, he talked about the First World War from a Bertha gun, and Second World War, it hung low and limp, did he say? Limp, yeah, for a time or two. Something along those lines. And then he gets to the point, oh, mouth is dry. I'm not sponsored by Lipton Iced Tea, but if they do want to sponsor me, let me know. Then he talks about, he gets to the part where he talks about how the flag has been disrespected, disgraced, burned, stepped on, whatever you might think of, back home. And this was, I don't know when this was written, but he didn't include Iraq and Afghanistan. Of course, he'd passed away before then, but he didn't include, those weren't included in the songs. And I don't know, when did Johnny Cash pass away? I'm thinking now. Leave it down in the comments. God rest his soul. Leave it down in the comments so I know. But he obviously, those weren't mentioned, but those are the two wars that we need to not talk about, but appreciate and respect the men who fought them as well, and the fact the flag was there and it was still waving there, and so on and so forth. But what interested me most was the fact that he talked about the flag being disgraced back home and refused back home. And the reason I want to talk about that is because you guys know where I'm going with this one, right? That was back then, what he was saying, because I'm assuming the majority of the time where it was disgraced and refused was during the Vietnam War, where you have, I don't know if there's any other words for them, but pacifist hippies, whatever it is that you might want to call them, were rebelling against the flag, and they were really proponents of anarchy and socialism and communism in a time where we were fighting the Cold War, which was great. That's surely, I know you have the First Amendment in the United States, and it's a very, very important constitutional right, and I would never ever be a proponent to ever get rid of that. I think the First Amendment is the most amazing thing, one of the most amazing things you could ever have in a constitution. But surely by preaching communism during a time where you're fighting communist forces globally, is that not treason? Should it be known as treason? I think maybe it could be known as treason. I'm not suggesting anyone be imprisoned for their beliefs. Of course not. But that's I would say to a certain extent you could consider it to be treason. In the old days, 100% that would have been treason. When there was no civil rights, that would have been immediately treason. Bye-bye. That's not necessarily the right thing to do, but I'm just saying it could be considered treason by most. So yes, you had people like that burning the flag and obviously spitting on soldiers that were returning home from Vietnam, calling them baby killers and such, which was absolutely horrible. What were they thinking? If those people were still around, I really hope that I really hope that you're not happy with yourselves over that one. If you did that to a soldier coming home from Vietnam, and you treated him like that, that's not maybe repent, because that guy didn't he didn't start the war. He didn't choose to go fight, and most of them were drafted, and they took their draft like a man. They didn't run to Canada or Mexico or whatever it might be, or hide in the woods away from their duty, their civic duty. No, they went and they fought, and a lot of them died. And those who came back were treated like they were like murderers, and they weren't. They were soldiers. Of course, you have things like the My Lai massacre, which didn't help. Okay, like the My Lai massacre was an anomaly, and of course there were other situations where similar things happened. I know, like, a lot of the Vietnam War effort was countered simply on dead bodies, and that's a fact. You can search that up. At a certain point, they just described it as a war of attrition. If we kill enough of the Vietnamese, they'll stop fighting. That didn't happen anyway. I get that. But those are isolated incidents, and there might have been 10, 15 incidents, yes, but in a war that was fought for over 15 years, that isn't, I'm not saying you should expect it, but it did happen, and maybe 0.0000001% of soldiers participated in something like that. So you can't paint with a broad stroke. Anyway, and it's happening now, guys. The disrespect, the disrespect to the flag is happening now. You still have kids preaching communism. You still have people burning the flag in the streets and trying to defund the police and shouting at military members. You still have that, and the fact that it's still happening really upsets me and angers me. And let me tell you, when I do get to the United States and I do become a citizen, not when I become a citizen. The moment I move to the United States and I gain any form of residency, I will actively fight against that. I'm not in a physical sense. I'm talking about from a moral perspective, from a verbal perspective. If I can counter those beliefs in any possible way, I will do so, because it's absolutely ridiculous. You should have respect for the people who fight for your freedom in your country. It's fine to criticize the government, of course it is, because all governments deserve some form of criticism. Look at the current administration now and the previous administration now. I had nothing against Trump. I actually thought he did a great job, and I thought the media was absolutely bashing him for no reason. However, there are obviously things that you can criticize him for, like his demeanor, which fed into which served some purpose, and it did a good job in some purposes. It could have been at some points inflammatory, but that was his thing. Like, just accept it. The same way Joe Biden, his thing is not knowing which day it is. Accept it. He'll get voted out, and we'll have a new president. Anyway, I guess my point is those things shouldn't be happening. What he said, his message was bang on. It was spot on what's happening now. And I urge you, if you see this and you are someone who hates the American flag, you hate what the United States believes in, look at the history of the United States, and then you tell me, and don't talk to me about slavery. Look at the history of Independence Day, the War of 1812, the fact that the United States has come to the aid of European nations and European conflicts time and time again. Okay, and then really tell me that you're not proud to be an American, because I think if you say that you're not, you're being ridiculous. Anyway, I will leave you on that message on a happier note. That was an amazing song, extremely patriotic. Thank you so much for the recommendations. It was absolutely amazing. I'm assuming it'll be on iTunes, so I will download it on Apple Music. I don't know, it's not called iTunes anymore, is it? Anyway, thank you absolutely so much for that recommendation. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to support this channel, you know where to go. Just refer back to the beginning of the video. And the best way also you can support the channel aside from that is subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below with any of your recommendations, because the more recommendations I have, the more videos I make, the more you have to watch, and the more the channel grows. And it's all down to you guys. So thank you very, very much. And a special thanks to those who have already donated and those who are consistent supporters of this channel. You are absolutely amazing. Have a fantastic day. May God bless you and your family. And God bless the United States after that, because that is a very, very touching song. So thank you very much, guys, and have a great day. I will see you next time.